When Longfellow read verse, it was with a hollow, with a mellow, resonant murmur, like the note of some deep-throated horn. His voice was very lulling in quality, and at the Dante Club it used to have early effect with an old scholar who sat in a cavernous armchair at the corner of the fire, and who drowsed audibly in the soft tone and the gentle heat. The poet had a fat terrier who wished always to be present at the meetings of the club, and he commonly fell asleep at the same moment with that dear old scholar, so that when they began to make themselves heard in concert, one could not tell which it was that most took our thoughts from the text of the Paradiso. When the duet opened, Longfellow would look up with an arch recognition of the fact, and then go gravely on to the end of the canto. At the close he would speak to his friend and lead him out to supper, as if he had not seen or heard anything amiss. The supper was very plain: cold turkey which the host carved, or a haunch of venison, or some braces of grouse, or a platter of quails with a deep bowl of salad, and the sympathetic companionship of those elect vintages which Longfellow loved, and which he chose with inspiration of affection. We usually began with oysters, and when someone who was expected did not come promptly, Longfellow invited us to raid his plate as a just punishment for his delay. One evening Lowell remarked, with the cayenne poised above his blue points, "It's astonishing how fond these fellows are of pepper." The old friend of the cavernous armchair was perhaps not wide enough awake to repress an of deep interest in this fact of natural history, and Lowell was provoked to go on. "Yes, I've dropped a red pepper pod into a barrel of them before now, and then taken them out in a solid mass, clinging to it like a swarm of bees to their queen." "Is it possible?" cried the old friend, and then Longfellow intervened to save him from worse, and turned the talk. No doubt he had his resentments, but he hushed them in his heart, which he did not suffer them to embitter. While Poe was writing of Longfellow and other plagiarists, Longfellow was helping to keep Poe alive by the loans which always made themselves gifts in Poe's case. He was patient of all things, and gentle beyond all mere gentlemanliness, but it would have been a great mistake to mistake his mildness for softness. If he did not find it well to assert himself, he was prompt in behalf of his friends, and one of the fine things told of him was his resenting some censures of Sumner at a dinner in Boston during the old pro-slavery times. He said to the gentlemen present that Sumner was his friend, and he must leave their company if they continued to assail him. At the services held in the house before the obsequies at the cemetery, I saw the poet for the last time. Where dead he lay among his books, in the library behind his study. All who were left of his old Cambridge were present, and among those who had come farther was Emerson. He went up to the bier, and with his arms crossed on his breast and his elbows held in either hand, stood with his head pathetically fallen forward, looking down at the dead face. Those who knew how his memory was a mere blank, with faint gleams of recognition capriciously coming and going in it, must have felt that he was struggling to remember who it was that lay there before him. And for me, the electrically simple words confessing his failure will always be pathetic with his remembered aspect. "The gentleman we have just been burying," he said to a friend who had come with him, "was a sweet and beautiful soul, but I forget his name."